Yo,
Hello.
hello everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and welcome to the special, which is of course dedicated to all things Rocky, one of the greatest sports drama franchises ever made, created from the mind of Sylvester Stallone, and of course it's something that's near and dear to my heart. It's one of those franchises that I generally believe doesn't have one bad entry in it. But that's up to interpretation. There's many of us here that might have difference of opinion. So let me introduce you to my guests. First and foremost, we have Anthony Jordan of Anthony Jordan Movies and Gaming. We have Mr. Jerry Granville of Jerry Granville Productions. Our newest guest to the entertainment headquarters, we have all the way from Germany, actor Nined. Welcome, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. And of course, he is my regular co-host on this channel. He's a cool dude as well. It's Mr. DJ Anubis.
What's up?
Yep. And then it is the Kaiju Enigma Ultra Jake. And then finally, Gojira 851.
Way down there.
What's up? What's up?
Hello.
What's up?
You know, the Rocky franchise has been going for many, many years. I think outside of Rambo, it's probably the most recognizable character that Sylvester Stallone has created and has worked on. You know, it's built from his blood, sweat, and tears in many ways. So I'll talk a little bit about it. Rocky is an American sports drama multimedia franchise created, like I say, by Sylvester Stallone, centering on the fictional life of boxer Rocky Balboa in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which began with the first film in 1976 and has since become a cultural phenomenon. So, Anthony Jordan, we'll start with you. We'll ask the question we'll always ask. What was the first time you can remember seeing the very first Rocky Balboa film?
I've always seen bits and pieces of it on TV throughout the years, but the first time I was actually in a position where I was able to sit down and watch the whole film from beginning to end was winter of 2005. AMC was doing a Rocky week, and I had never seen any of them the whole way through. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of the week and watch all of them, and I really enjoyed this one. It was just an impressive story from start to finish, emotional, just great performances, and no one would have thought what this film would start.
Precisely. And the fact that you're seeing this showcasing of all the films in 2005, because I think the following year Rocky Balboa came out, which is interesting. Jerry Granville, your first time seeing Rocky.
Oh God, this shows how old I am. This goes way back to like the late 70s, like I think around 79, where I watched it with my mother and my brother, if I'm not mistaken. But when it broadcast on CBS back then, and you know, for some reason I took an interest to it. You know, I didn't know what, because I mean I like movies and whatever, you know, and my attention span as a kid was very, very short, because like if it ain't doing a lot to me, it's like I'm not going to be interested in it. But for some reason, this caught my eye, even as a person who was a little kid, and watching it, and just like, this is pretty decent, you know. And then you really watch it, it's like, okay, I mean, I'm a kid, but I'm getting invested in it, you know, for whatever it is. So that was my original time that I watched it, and then, like say, through the intervening years, I actually watched it again through adult eyes. And it's like, okay, I get what it was going on. I mean, it's a struggle for a person trying to get from A to something that he believes in, or at least he believes in somebody that believes in him, you know. So,
yeah. Nined, first time seeing Rocky.
Yeah, I was too young for cinema because I'm born 74. The movie came out in Germany 1977. And I remember it was Christmas 1983. when they showed it the first time on TV, so I could watch it. I remember it has to be Christmas 1983. I watched it with my dad, and I was like 11. In Germany, the movie was normally you couldn't watch it under if you're not 12 years old. So my dad and me watched it for the first time, but I was 11. I just watched it and I couldn't grab it. What's it about? With all the stuff what happened in the movie, because when you're 11, you don't recognize or you don't get everything, because I remember it was a very sad movie, and first it didn't click with me because I couldn't understand the movie. But when I grew older, I understood what the movie is, and for me, I don't know if I can say it right now, but for me, the movie is no sports movie. For me, the first Rocky movie is a love story, not a sports movie, because there's only 15 minutes, I believe, in the first movie of boxing. And for me, it's one of the biggest love stories of all time.
Mm.
That's a good.
If you've seen it in 1983 in December, you've seen it the year I was born, the month I was born. So,
Isn't that
nice choice of movie celebrating my birth. Anyway, DJ.
Yeah.
So my first time seeing this film was actually 20 years ago. Now, I'd already been familiar with Rocky because really it was Rocky 3 that kind of grabbed me initially, because that's kind of like when the franchise started going into the more fast-paced, fighting more often and the drama. Nenad's right. The first movie is very much a love story. It's not written really to be like an action film in any way. It's just about this guy trying to get through life, and he meets a nice shy girl and then goes and fights a big boxing match. But I didn't see this about 20 years ago. I mean, I knew about it obviously, and I knew that Stallone had actually taken it upon himself to make this film because he was so tired of worrying about studios taking over his script and doing what they want with it. He wanted to do the film he wanted to do. So on that level, it's a really big standout film because of how it came about and why. But I didn't see it about 20 years ago. I only seen it once. Like it's not a fast-paced film, so I don't really watch as much as I say like Rocky IV or even Balboa, but it's still a really, really good film.
Yeah. Jake Hall.
The first time I actually watched Rocky was when I bought the complete set on Blu-ray. I had never seen the first one or the second one. I think the first one I actually watched on TV was the fourth one, but then again, I kind of don't remember because it was on TV one day. But the first time I watched the first one was when I bought the Blu-ray complete collection and watched them from order, and I really enjoyed the storyline. Yes, it's not a fast-paced movie. It's a slow burn, pretty much. You're learning about the character. You're learning about his upbringing and how he lives his life, basically, and he's learning from mistakes that he's made during his life. But all in all, it was a pretty good film.
Mm-hmm. Matt, Gojira 851.
Okay, so like most other things in my life, I got to kind of bring this back to the Godzilla franchise. I was late to watching this movie. I saw Rocky IV first, and I saw Rocky IV first back in the 80s. I hadn't seen the first one first, and then I didn't see the first one until before I saw Rocky V. Then, so I saw 4, then I saw 3, then I think I saw 2, and then I saw 1. By the time I watched the first one, I don't ask me why I watch these movies all out of order. I was, as far as movies are concerned, I was raised oddly. So by the time I watched the first one,
I was confused as a child because I was like, why is the movie? Because again, I think I was like 4 when I saw this movie. So it was like tonal whiplash. It's like, so you watch him in the 4th movie, which we'll get to the 4th movie, because I was it was like a superhero movie in a way, and it's kind of the way how the movie is actually described. It's almost like a superhero overcoming like a monster. But anyway, then you watch the 1st movie. It is tonal whiplash the way how it is, and the movie left me confused as a child. Now, as an adult watching it, it's a beautiful film watching it as an adult. And yes, it is more of a love story. It's about a man finding his place in the world as well, because he's not just a boxer. No. He's also a leg breaker for the mob as well. And he's also trying to get his way out of that. He's also looked down upon by the people around him as well. He wants to, get away from that stigma. And by the people that he wants to get away from that as well, also look down upon him as well. We'll talk about that when we actually get to the film as well. But let's just say I didn't get it when I was a kid. But now, as an adult, as I see it with more adult eyes, I appreciate it. Which, when I say adult eyes, I saw it when I was like 14, and I appreciated moving. But when I saw it when I was like 4 years old, I didn't get it. But I get it a lot better when I was a lot older. So, yeah.
As for me, I think I would have been in me probably 18, 19 when I seen them, and I probably did watch them in order because they did like Anthony. They did like a movie marathon, and they showed all the movies in order, and I just fell in love with the films. There was just something about the character I connected, and I don't know if it was because of who the character is, or if it was because of Stallone's performance. But the character just stood out for me personally for all of the right reasons. Yo, Tony.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, Tony.
What's up, Tony?
But as Matt mentioned, the film basically, it's about this, small town club fighter who's also a loan shark and, a collector for the loan shark. And then suddenly, he gets this opportunity to fight, the heavyweight champion of the world, Apollo Creed. And during the time he's doing his training with Mickey, where he has to kind of convince Mickey to train him. So this is the cast. This photo always makes us laugh because Mickey and Adriana look like they're high on drugs.
Yeah.
Who knows? They made
You
it.
know,
The weed.
it's so funny. When I saw Rocky the first time, I was 11, and then I saw Burgess Meredith, and I thought, "Hey man, that's the dude from Batman. What is he doing here?"
Yeah. I was totally shocked in the beginning when I seen.
Now that you
this.
mentioned that with that picture, Paulie looks like he's been drinking a little too.
Well, I think to be honest, if you look at the photo again, Paulie looks like the most sober out of all of them.
To be honest, Paulie looks like he can put on some gloves and take on all of them. To tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because Paulie was a boxer, 17-0. He was in a Marine, and he was a professional boxer. He has a record of 17-0.
Also,
I didn't know that. Wow.
I'll throw it out there now. Burt Young was a very underrated actor.
Oh,
definitely.
yeah, he was awesome. I liked him.
And this is what really made this a hit. When it was first released, it kept on continuously performing well at the box office at the weekends. It was made on a budget of $960,000, and at the end of its original box office, it made $117 million. Now, if you adjust that for inflation, it would have made $500 million.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I saw the documentary and it was crazy. The lines around the cinemas, or how you say it, movie theaters,
Mhm.
is insane.
Yeah, it just. But the first movie into it's the starting point, like you say, to things that most films when they have a sequel, the sequel it either crashes and burns or it's not as well received as the original. But for me, for each sequel that was produced after the original, I feel as if they got better and better. And I agree with Anubis, when they got to the third one, there was a complete shift in tone, in my opinion, because
Mhm.
they knew they had a captured audience, and they knew if they kept the I guess the slow pace and drama kind of storytelling, some of the fans might drop off. So they kind of quickened the pacing of the storytelling. They added more boxing fight sequences into the movies. And for me, it made the films much more impactful.
If I may, though, they might have done that, but they didn't lose the spirit of the first two films.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
but
I believe that sorry,
No.
Matt.
No, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. No, please go ahead.
Yeah, they didn't lose the spirit because the dynamic between Talia Shire and Sylvester Stallone, the on-screen chemistry is so good, and
Mhm.
because it worked so perfectly. Yeah, we're coming to this later, but the on-screen chemistry and the love, because I had the feeling in the first four movies they put so much love into the movies, but for me, one and two still are my absolute favorite because I love the pacing, I love the cinematography, I love everything about the first two movies that that I didn't had in the in 3, 4, and 5, but it came back in 6. So for me, number 1 and number 2 are so dear to my heart. I can watch them 24 hours because they are such a good movies.
Yeah, and you also have all said it's down to the cast. I think Stallone picked the right cast, and I always remember the story he told about Carl Weathers, where they had been trying to look for an actor to play Apollo Creed, and Apollo Creed was asked to come to the audition something like 6 o'clock at night, and he came in pissed as hell that he had to travel across town to the audition, and he come in and he burst into the room, and Stallone's eyes just lit up because he went, have you seen how huge this man is? He was obviously jacked to hell. And apparently, because let's face it, the character of Creed is very different to Rocky. Rocky's just a normal guy living in, trying to make ends meet day to day, paycheck to paycheck. Where you look at Apollo Creed, he's a showman. He's got an attitude. He's got this flair about him, this presence. And apparently he came in and he looked at Sylvester Stallone and he went, so who's the guy who's playing Rocky? And he looked at Stallone, and apparently he went, it's me, I'm playing Rocky. And apparently Carl Weathers was like, get out of here. There was straight away Stallone said he's the guy, because he walked in with this presence, and he had the attitude and the flair the way Apollo Creed has throughout the course of the movies.
I'm surprised that Carl Weathers never got a nomination for anything, because his performance in this film was pretty decent. I mean, maybe because he wasn't on screen as much, but it seemed like he should have got something, at least. Yeah, see, that's see, that look, he's Apollo Creed, but he looks more like something he would see in Action Jackson now, because he's got the guns too, See, and see,
yeah, but don't forget.
Go ahead.
But don't forget, Rocky 1 had 10 Oscar nominations. That's huge. for such a low budget movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And the funny
Goodness.
thing about Carl Weathers is in the casting he insulted Sylvester Stallone like he did in the movies. Like, what? Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
Something like this. It's so funny. And with Paulie, he just met Paulie in a pub and hired him immediately, just without casting.
Yeah. But
Burt Young.
yeah, after of course the success of the very first film, which set the box office alight, it had built a following. Like you say, 10 nominations for the budget it had. It made over 170 million at the box office. It became a massive hit.
And don't forget that this is the only of the Rocky films to actually win an Academy Award.
Yeah,
That is very true.
It was best movie, best editing, and best director.
Yes.
That was gonna say.
But one thing I'll say about Stallone, which is very underrated, but he's very good at writing.
He is, yes.
I do think he's a great writer. He does write a lot of his own work. There's a dark side to the Rocky franchise later on when we talk about it, but we'll get there. But because of the immediate success of this film, Stallone immediately went to work on the sequel, which in my mind, I wondered if he knew if this was successful, he already had the story mapped out for part 2. Because it very much feels like it. But like you say, we're then now going to Rocky 2. So Rocky 2 came out in 1979. It stars pretty much the same cast, and the story is set immediately after the events of the first one, where now Rocky has now been catapulted into the limelight, and he's not only struggling with this newfound fame, he's also struggling with to keep his family together. But then you've also got Apollo Creed, who basically, he's frustrated that this lone little, what he considered this lonely little, Philadelphia boxer basically flawed the world champion. So he fiercely goes after him for a rematch. And for me, the storyline in the second one is much stronger than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Anthony Jordan, your opinions of the second Rocky film?
Great film, and much like something we talked about on a stream yesterday, these are two films that you can watch back to back and it feels like one movie. And I agree, the story is better because we see him fall into that trap of getting a little success, getting money, squandering it, realizing he messed up, then having to make good because now he has a baby on the way. And even what they did with Apollo Creed, flushing him out into more of a character where he goes from not wanting a rematch to seeing his reputation is taking a hit, and people still don't necessarily look at Rocky as a serious competitor. And it's like, you barely beat a chump. What's wrong with you? And how he kind of has to reluctantly go back into the fight itself, and just everything about it. It's the perfect continuation to a phenomenal movie. And yeah, I agree. This is one of those films you can make the argument that the sequel is better than the original.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I like how, throughout the course of this movie, there's this rivalry between them. But there seems to be, by the end of this newfound respect built between him and Apollo Creed, which leads into the third one of him becoming the man that kind of pulls him out of that depression after the events of that movie. Jedi, your opinions of the second film?
That's the thing about that film. See, and I tell you before, I have a very strong opinion about sequels in general because if the story is weak, why am I going to watch it? And nowadays, that's all about that. Now, with these films, they get a hit, but then it's like, are you focusing on the story or just a spectacle? This film is not a spectacle. This film is actually taking a story and adding more realism to everyday life individuals. I mean, yes, he's got a little success, he's got a little, fame, but the thing about it is that fame and fortune doesn't last too long. And like I say, it's like that with some celebrities. They actually deal with the loss of both fame and fortune, and you realize like this is a reality that some have faced. I mean, we'll never know what that's like. I mean, if we ever hit the jackpot, that's one thing. But as far as being, day-to-day lives, Rocky deals with him trying to be something that he never thought he had to be, which is a father and a husband. So I think the more difficult of his personas, and we get to see something that we never, I mean, I'm not going to say never thought we would see, but we see Adrian, who is just like bookworm, that's kind of like very, in a shell, kind of start to slowly dissolve that whole, that persona of herself melt away and become this strong entity that he needs for himself, because he needs a strong woman. I mean, that old saying, behind every great man is a strong woman, although it's usually black, but it's same thing applies.
Yeah. Nina, your thoughts on the second Rocky film?
For me, the second Rocky movie, like you guys said, it's a great continuation of the first movie. So the first movie, it was a great introduction into every character, and the second movie, I love it there so much because it had so much stuff in it that you can relate, like the scene where he has to read from the how do you say, cardboard, the commercial text. So, and Sylvester Stallone said one time he put it in because he was struggling for himself, because after the Oscar hype, what is going to be with the movie? How is going to be the movie turn out? Will it be good? Will it be how will the people react to the second movie? So he had to struggle, and they filmed so much material. Like they filmed like 250 kilometers of film, and Sylvester Stallone was so hyped about it and was trying that he almost collapsed with the nerval. How do you say, when the nerves collapse?
Nerve damage, like severe nerve
Yeah,
damage.
nerve damage, that he couldn't, that he cannot live up the hype, because the first movie was so well with the Oscars and everything, and then he got injured. His breast muscle was injured. He had to go into they had to make an emergency operation, and it's everything because sometimes we have also in life that we struggle. We have to accomplish something, and the hype is so big. And there is another one, which is Knuckles. If you watch Sylvester Stallone, he doesn't have knuckles because he was hitting the meat so hard, and that he doesn't have any more knuckles he did in the first movie. And then you have to portray a sound.
If you think about it, even though he's an actor and a writer, and the one thing I noticed, and I didn't realize till later, I didn't realize he directed the second film, Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
I was totally blown away with how good his directing style was with the second movie. And the one thing, going back to what you're saying, even though he's a writer, he's a director, he's an actor, he took this so serious. He put himself through all this vigorous training that a lot of real athletes and boxers and bodybuilders would do. And in the end, like you say, it got that much that he actually caused himself these real life injuries that an athlete would generally probably get, like muscle tears and back pain, swollen shoulders, elbows, all of it.
Yeah, but you don't have to forget we didn't mention it in Rocky 1. He the night before he went home and wrote a 30-page script of left hooks, right hooks, and he wrote in one night the whole choreography of the fights. And Rocky 1 was the first movie ever where you can see two boxers fight. Looks like a real actual boxing fight, like you saw on TV, and that's why the people went crazy in the cinemas when they thought it was a real boxing movie, and they went nuts in the cinemas because nobody ever saw this. And we don't have to forget, in number one, there was the invention of Gareth Brown with the Steadicam, like we have today in all the cinemas. Who is walking around? You can see him also in Rocky 1 with his green and white striped shirt. So and that's so because Gareth Edwards was doing a montage with the Steadicam on the Rocky steps and with his wife, and John G. Avildsen saw it and said, "Oh, we want to have that in the movie." So that's why we have this iconic step running. And there's so much innovation also in Rocky 1 or in Rocky 2 that are still today, because like we had the discussion yesterday with the influential directors. So Rocky was very influential, and it's big now also in the pop culture. So to go to give the voice to left-handed boxers back in the days, because left-handed boxers were back in the days, nobody took them serious. So it was a step to show them, I'm a left-handed boxer. You can do it. When I can do it, you can do it. That's why I love the one scene where he lays with Adrian in the bed in Rocky 1, where he says, nobody ever went with Creed to the distance. I want to go with him the distance, that I finally know that I'm not a bum from the street again. And the toilet scene, where he screams at Mickey, that's personal anger towards his own dad, and he saw Mickey as his dad. So a lot of stuff was improvised. And when you have Tony Burton, and Tony Burton is a Golden Glove winner as a professional boxer, and most of the stuff you see in the ring when Tony Burton is coaching Apollo Creed, it's improvised because he knows what to do. And that's so great about Burt Young was a professional boxer. Tony Burton was a professional boxer, and what's the name of the El Shivano? Sorry with my names. El Shivano, the little guy in the Rocky movies. He's a professional boxer too. So they had a lot of credibility in the movies, and people knew it, and that's why it was so authentic and realistic. And Rocky and Sylvester Stallone knew it, because he had to deliver. He had to deliver a movie that has to be realistic and not to make fun about the boxing like they did. They didn't take fun before, but the authenticity in the fighting that was very, very important for him to have this,
was realistic and authentic.
And that's why he also wrote the movie, because wouldn't he be that stubborn, we wouldn't be having a Rocky movie like we are talking right now, because they wanted to give him $350,000 and say, okay, thank you for the script, but he said, no, I'm going to play Rocky because I know how to play Rocky. I am the person who's doing it. So
well, he may change his name now that he's given the role of Rambo to a younger actor. But I'm gonna ask Anubis now what your thoughts are on Rocky 2.
Well, mine are much simpler. I mean, this is like really Rocky 2 is like a companion piece to the first one because they're so similar in vibe. Even though the second one is a little bit better written, it's just you could really just watch these back to back and they would flow nicely because of how close they are. But again, just great acting on everybody's part in this. Obviously, it kind of runs the same way. Then you get that famous line, "Yo, Adrian, I did it" at the end, type thing. But I'm not going to say too much more. It's been a long time since I've seen these first two, so but they are just good companion pieces as far as films go.
Mm-hmm. Is Jake Hall there, or is he busy? Well, we can come back to Jake if he is. Gojira 851.
The second film is an excellent film. Absolutely adore it. Not only is it building on, yes, it's a great companion piece for the first film, but it's also kind of a stepping stone to their brotherhood in a way and their friendship, because not only is it where it escalates their rivalry as in their boxing terms, but when the final victory is done at the end, you can kind of see the look on Apollo's face, like, okay, pal, you beat me. Because throughout the whole entire movie, he's sitting there saying, okay, I can beat this guy. Like, champ, he almost beat you. Okay, walk away. This is your chance to walk away. Okay, you don't need this. Okay, what do kids say that nowadays? You don't want the smoke or whatever the saying is. So they're like saying, like just walk away. Okay, we don't need this. Okay, move on to someone else. There's better contenders you can go for. And then Apollo's throwing all of these angry letters around and everything, saying, I do need this. I need to wipe this away. And then finally, he gives like that almost like stamp of approval at the end when he looks at him like, okay, you beat me. And then Rocky then rises and then he's like, yo, Adrian, I did it. And they play their triumphant music at the end. Yeah. And that moves on to the next film, which we'll get into. But that's almost like,
just real quickly, you're right, because that thing about Apollo is that's something that followed him the entire franchise was before his death. He kept saying, I need to do this, and that's why he ended up fighting Drago and not doing very well because he wanted that limelight back that Rocky had. So good point on that.
Okay.
That's the inner nature of that's what I love about the movie. They were actors, but they captured the spirit of a fighter so great. The inner struggle, man, and a fucking nobody from Philadelphia whooped 15 rounds in the first movie my ass, and I'm the world champion. Nobody ever did that to me. So of course his ego crashed and said, I am better than this. I can do it. It's the same with Rocky when he talks to Adrian and he tells her, I never say to tell you never stop being a woman, but I'm a fighter and don't stop making me to be a man. And that hits so hard when you imagine to be a fighter. You have a wife, you have a kid. A kid is coming, and you have the inner struggle. You don't know how to support your family, and then there is a guy who's bullying you all the time. He's a bum, and then he works in Mickey's gym, and the guys in the Mickey's gym are bullying him while he's carrying the water, and it must be heartbreaking to stay that strong like Rocky did, and that's where you see how big his heart is. And then we don't have to forget his wife gets into a coma, and his head is not there in the beginning. Then his wife gets in a coma. He didn't see his son, and Mickey is always by his side, and it makes something. And finally, when she wakes up and tells Rocky, "There is one thing, win," and you can feel it when you watch the movie. and you see how he loves, and he tries to overcome his ability not to read or write very good. He writing her poem and being all the time in the um, hospital, and then you see Paulie, this little bum, just doesn't care, but that's his character. But and then finally he gets up and gets the motivation. He has a kid now. His wife is okay. He finally got the blessing of his wife that he can go and whoop Apollo Creed, and that motivation he win, and that was happening in all these franchises. You see, Rocky always was dependent on Adrian, and that's why the chemistry is so good between them. You believe them that they're a couple, and so,
Nina, I'm gonna ask.
so good.
I'm gonna ask.
Sorry,
Jake
Dad.
I'm gonna ask
Okay,
Jake
sir.
his opinion because we missed him out because you were
Okay,
away,
sorry.
Jake, so I had to skip you.
No, you're fine.
So I'm gonna ask you, Jake, now what your opinion is of the second film.
It's interesting because at the end of the first one, Apollo said he was never going to give him a rematch. But after the fight and after they're in the hospital in the second one, it's like he had a change of mind and he felt like that everybody wasn't cheering for him and he thought he didn't win even though he did win. And so he was telling him, hey, yo, chump, I'm going to give you a rematch anytime, anywhere, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
So pretty much he's obsessing over this, and Rocky is just trying to understand. Well, during the whole process of trying to train and all of that, he's going through a lot, like Neen had said and everyone else said. He's going through the fact that his wife was pregnant. He's going through the fact that he's training for this fight, and he's going through a lot of stuff. And there was a part where him and Adrian kind of had a little falling out, and Rocky felt like that Adrian wasn't supporting him at the time. And then Paulie goes to confront Adrian about it as Rocky's training, and then she ends up falling down and ends up having to go to the hospital because she was losing a lot of blood and all of that, and ended up being in a coma, and that set Rocky on a downward spiral until she comes back from the coma, and then she realizes that he needed this, so he tells her, or she tells him that he wants him to win, and he starts training as hard as he can, and then you have one of the greatest rematches in the film where they both beat each other so senseless, they both knock each other out, go down, and with 1 second left, Rocky rises up and ends up winning the championship. And that's when Apollo's like, all right, this guy is the real deal. I accept that I got defeated by him, and went about his business. And then that's when he goes, yo, Adrian, I did it! as they're watching on the TV, and everybody's just cheering.
So the critters invaded the movie, did they?
Probably. Yeah, that or the Gremlins.
Yes. But anyway, this film was made on this budget of 7 million, and it made over 200 million at the box office. And this is where things certainly do pick up, because this is where we're head. A bad time, I call it bad time. Rocky 3. And a lot of people say Rocky 4 is their favorite of the franchise, but I'll be brutally honest, I think Rocky 3 is my favorite of the franchise. And this is the cast. Another amazing group of individuals there.
How young Mr. T is.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
So this story basically starts off where basically Rocky's kind of settled into being like a known figure, a known boxer, and then of course he now gets threatened by this new competitor called Clubber Lang. And Clubber Lang is intimidating. He takes no shit. He's badass. He's bad to the bone. Who's better to play Clubber Lang than Mr. T? And as you know, there is a fight between the two of them. And the fight, doesn't go as well as Rocky hoped because Rocky loses his confidence. And boom, down to the ground. And, Clubber Lang doesn't mess around. He's one tough son SOB.
Yes.
And he's out of all of his foes, he is my absolute favourite. I loved what Mr. T brought to the role of Clubber Lang. I love his presence. I loved what he came. He was very similar to Rocky, but he had just like this bad attitude with him. And of course, Sylvester Stallone also wrote this movie. He also directed this movie. And of course, he kind of tried to change the pace up again, add more boxing action, but he also wanted to keep the story connected. So how he did that is after his defeat by, of course, Clubber Lang, he's lost his confidence. Then comes his good friend, who is now his friend, and kind of not just his compadre, he's also like a mentor now. He then, starts to work with Apollo Creed to basically train, get himself back up there. So not only now does he have Adrian by his side, he now has this much stronger team. And along the way, and this is kind of was heartbreaking, we do lose somebody who was near and dear.
Yep.
So Mickey's death in this, was sad. It was heartbreaking. And that's another reason why I believe, of course, because of the distraction of his death, why Rocky struggled. Apollo seen that struggle, and because he's seen that struggle, he decided to, kind of help rebuild him because he's been there himself. He probably struggled after he lost to Rocky. So we're going to change things up. We'll start from the bottom and make way up to the top. So I'm going to start with Gojira 851.
So watching this movie, so Rocky 3, once again, I saw this film after I watched Rocky 4. So I liked this film. I thought Clubber Lang was a great, foil to Rocky in the film. Then again, he wasn't really the main focus of, Rocky's problems in this movie. He was just the opponent. The real problem was Rocky's, how'd they put it? His civilized
hunger,
his ego,
him becoming civilized in the movie. That's how Mickey put it. When he got all the money, he got all the cars, he got the fancy house. Yeah, he got soft, exactly. And it's funny that when he fought Clubber the first time, he wore gold and black. Those are like kind of like the colors of like money and royalty. And then he got his ass beat. And then towards the end of it, he set that aside. He got the eye of the tiger, and then he wore the trunks that Apollo wore in their first fight. The red, white, and blue. And then he embraced like a different way of thinking. More humble ways. And he was able to overcome Clubber Lang. So Clubber was a great fighter. But unfortunately, the way how they wrote him, he had a small gas tank. That's fighter logic, but whatever. But again, it was a great film, and I'm not gonna lie, I do like the fourth one more, but then again, that's more like a superhero kind of movie, but just whatever. But no, the third one's great fun. But also, as a wrestling fan as well, we also had a very strange but also fun cameo for one Terry Bollea / Hulk Hogan as Thunder Lips, baby, fighting the ultimate meatball in Rocky Balboa, which as a kid blew my mind because he was the reigning WWF, yes, WWF, not WWE, WWF champion. And it blew my fragile little mind as a kid when I saw that. I had no idea what to think. And that's my story of Rocky 3. But yes, excellent film. And yes, love it.
Right, Jake Hall.
Well, as the story continues, Rocky wins the world title, and then he starts doing other fights and then starts doing charity events, which led to Rocky battling Thunder Lips, and Thunder Lips is doing all his cocky work. And Rocky was sitting here thinking, "Oh, I'm just gonna gently do this, like little jabs." And little did he know he was in for his money when Thunder Lips just start going boom, starts doing all the wrestling moves and all that, and Rocky's like, okay, we're gonna do this, then takes off the gloves and starts doing all this other stuff and ends up choking him out. And then at the end of the charity fight, they end up taking a picture with Adrian and the son. And then,
see how I took that, when he did it was like a wrestling skit. It was like a cross promotion between the wrestling and the physical real boxers because of how they went on. And then when he's backstage and he's going, "Oh, thanks for that," and all that, they made it out like Stallone, or should I say that Rocky Balboa was the real athlete and Hulk Hogan was basically playing a fictional other version of himself.
It's funny because they did something like that in the future when they had the Big Show and Floyd Mayweather at WrestleMania. So it's kind of funny how they predicted that, 20 or 30 years previous to that. So I'm sorry, I mean to interrupt there. I'm sorry.
No, y'all good. But yeah, so, and as Clubber Lang is watching this, he's like, "Man, this fool's a joke." And you seeing him like battling these other guys, and then as they're celebrate at the wherever it was where they showed the statue, Clubber Lang shows up and basically calls out Rocky, saying he's been ducking him and all that. And he said something to his wife, and Rocky snapped and was like, "You got your fight," and that's where he gets his butt kick.
You know that part got Mr. T actually yelled at by his mom.
Yeah,
he actually got you better than to talk to women like that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the thing though. That comment, right? He's like, "Hey, girl, you want to see what a real man is? You come down here in my hotel room," and that set Rocky off. Rocky was ready not to fight until he went there. And look, you can say what you want, but a black man coming onto your white wife, oh, you are gonna go down, boy.
The funny thing is, Mr.
Jedi knows what I'm talking about. Jedi knows what I'm talking about.
It's so funny, yeah. Imagine you're at the start and you're in the cinema and you're getting a smack by your mom in the cinema with all the audience, and she's telling you can do better, and she left the cinema and said you never will do that again. Imagine how embarrassing that has to be.
Yeah, that's your mom, though. You have to respect her.
Yeah.
I would have been like, "Mom, it was a role. It's fake."
Yeah. But you know what? Like, he's a mama's boy. Like, let's face it. Let's face it. Look at this. You can look this badass, but not to your mama.
No. I know that that firsthand. No.
Like, you just have to watch the WWE Hall of Fame speech by Mr. T. He talked like 15 minutes about his mom.
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord.
he did. I remember, and they cut him off. They had to stop the speech. They had to stop
Yeah.
playing the movie. Like,
Yeah, Kane
phase it
came
out 'cause
out.
it
Yeah,
was going too long. Yeah, I
like at
remember
the
that. That was
Oscars,
hilarious.
like at the Oscars, the music start playing. So get the F off the stage.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
get out of here.
But
So,
yeah,
Mr. DJ Anubis, your opinion of Rocky 3?
Yeah, so this was my first introduction to the Rocky series. I heard about them beforehand, but this was the first one I saw, and it's really because it came off the tail end, or not the tail end, but the hype of the A-Team with Mr. T being involved with that TV show. So seeing him on screen with Rocky here. And the other thing about this was the way that they looked fit wise. So in the first couple of films, they're kind of got a little bit of flab, they're just normal fighters. But in these, T and Rocky are like cut. Like they got the abs, and the speed to which Clubber Lang on that first fight was rolling in there and just like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Like that's what I'm talking about. That's the height that these films from this point on brought, because it just upped it all. Like they upped the ante with the action and everything else that's going on with the fights, and that's what got me into the series. Really, the first two are great for their own stories of determination and love and all that, but the rest of them are just the stuff that you want to see action wise. And I thought Mr. T did an excellent job in this, playing the villain. Like I said, Jake brought up at the time that Rocky wanted to retire, and of course, Clubber just like talking shit to his wife to get him to come out and fight, which it works. He gets him and he actually takes care of business. And I think the other thing that Goji brought up was how this movie also showed Rocky kind of going down the path that Apollo did initially, with being soft and getting too full of himself, not taking fights seriously. He was fighting a lot of undercards. And so when and you can tell early on in this film too, when Mickey is watching Clubber, he goes to his fights, he's watching Clubber, he sees this hunger in this guy, and he tells Rocky, he's like, this dude will fucking kill you. And that destroys Rocky. He doesn't want to hear that. And he's like, this dude will fucking kill you. And, the rest is history there. So I'll turn it over to Nenad now.
Nenad,
So I'm so passionate about these movies. So in Rocky 3, it's like the continuation of the struggle somehow, because when you see him fighting all these champions, and then you realize that they were handpicked by Mickey, who wanted to protect him, and then you're losing the confidence, and then you have the statue reveal, and somebody is working on your ego, like come to my hotel room, I show you what a real man is. And of course his ego is getting tripped, and for me he fell in the same trap like Apollo did in Rocky 1, that he didn't took it too serious, because he thought he was fighting 10 champions, he whooped everybody, and then there is this brutal guy, and he took the training kind of light and more for the money, and selling and renting a studio and doing this 40% training stuff. And then he see his trainer is in the back and trying to and he doesn't know, his head is not right, and he doesn't concentrate so good on the fight, and he loses the fight. And then he goes into the locker room and talks to Mickey, and the last thing he did is he didn't told him the truth, that he said we did it, and at second round KO, and Mickey died. So there is this guilt that he never had to he didn't told him the truth. So then there is this montage where he's in the streets and doubting himself. Am I a real boxer? And then you see Apollo is coming and telling him you lost for the a whole wrong reason. And then I don't know what. Then he went to Los Angeles and trained with the guys, but his head still wasn't right in there, and he needed a pep talk by Adrian, and Adrian gave him a good speech at the beach where she said, "What's the problem? At the end, there is you and me. Give all the best you have, and I know you can live with that when you give your best you can have." And that's what I love about the movie, that Rocky is nothing without Adrian, and Adrian needs Rocky. So they complete each other. Like he said in the first movie, I have a gap, she has a gap, and together we fill gaps. So and you can see it totally because they need each other. And then he started to train, and in Rocky 3, that's the first time he wasn't a face puncher. In the first two movies, he always get his face punched. He didn't even have a protection. He let his face be, and he could move, and he was lighter. And that's to Rocky, because to Sylvester Stallone, because he had only 2.6% body fat, because he was so on a strict diet for Rocky 3 that he wanted to look very, very sharp. He dehydrated almost the time and had brain. Sometimes the brain didn't work very good. And a good fat body fat is 10%, and that's the problem he had. And it doesn't make. Of course, when you drink 25 cups of coffee every day, when you're shooting and don't eat anything, just an apple a day, it makes something with you. And he needed this talk, and you saw the influence of Apollo. Like he trained like a real. Okay, he trained before like a real fighter, but he got a different style. He's protecting his face now, and he's ducking, and he's doing great fighting skills in that movie. And of course the will he had at the end, and maybe I believe Clubber Lang took the fight to light when he said, "I pity the
Hello,
fool." And
thanks for joining me.
And I guess he took the fight to light, so that's why he got beaten at the end. And Rocky went victory again, and it was an absolute great story. And also, I love the Hulk Hogan fight, because WWF in that time didn't understood what kind of big this is. They just fired Hulk Hogan because he wanted to do the movie with Sylvester Stallone, and afterwards they knew how big that movie is. So, and they rehired him, and that's to him. And Sylvester Stallone told once, Hulk Hogan was so strong, he threw him and two stuntmen like puppets through the air. So at the end, I really love the movie. And also with Paulie, that Paulie starting not to be, he was kind of pain in the ass, but you can say about Paulie whatever you want, but at the end of the day, he's a bum, he's an idiot, nobody likes him, but he sticks to Rocky because I believe Rocky is the only person who loves him. I guess there's nobody else in the world who is loving Paulie, and that's a tribute to Burt Young, how good he of an actor was, that everybody hates him. And and that's absolutely. But the cast also, I have to say, the whole cast is brilliant.
Oh,
And
the cast
yeah,
in the third one's great, and it's all down to Sylvester Stallone because he wrote it, he directed it, he chose his cast well, and the third one, I've just mentioned this, the third film, um, it cost 70 million and it made 270 million at the box office. It made more money than the second one. It actually surpassed the second one by leaps and bounds because of, and I think it is like what Anubis said, it's because of the change of pace in the movie. It still told a very, grounded story, but it changed up the pace. So it was more about the fighting and introducing a more aggressive antagonist to Rocky really helped to deliver because Apollo Creed was more of a showman, but Clubber Lang was, for me, he was very much like Rocky, but more aggressive. He was hungry. He was like Rocky if Rocky had a bad attitude,
Yeah, he
and
was
that's how
basically
I
like
felt.
the film version of Mike Tyson, basically at that time.
Yes, 100%. But
Mhm.
Jedi, we're coming to you next. What is your opinion of Rocky 3?
Well, like you, this is actually my favorite of the Rocky films. To tell you the truth, I mean, it's, and I think that's the thing. We've all, everyone's said their piece about the film and everything, but I look at it as just that. You get swallowed up. Now we saw the second one. He's struggling with all that he's got. And trying to maintain having a family. Whatever. But once he gets this fame and fortune, then that's just a Achilles heel. That's still in a way, a bad thing for him too, because he's letting his. This is something I feel like a lot of Hollywood people or anyone who's entertaining, their ego starts to blossom out in a bad way. It starts to become something that's a deafening death toll to them, because you think that because you have all these fans, you have all this wealth, you have all this, like, you think that you're untouchable, you're unstoppable, you're all this, like, and unfortunately, it actually starts to kind of corrupt, um, Rocky, because like I say, he was this fierce kind of fighter, but now he's, as we said, he's kind of soft now, and this is one of the reasons why Mickey was setting him up with these so-called, handpicked, fighters. I mean, true enough, he's still a good fighter, but he's let himself slide. And in time, it's like, yeah, he has come back from the brink of, it's like, am I a real fighter? And this is where I say, this is the moment where I said, where we saw Adrian, where she was just like this very, kind of covers, very, very shy, very, just timid kind of creature. Here is the moment where we see her in a full glory in terms of this very strong female presence. It's like and I think you have to be a very strong female to kind of like get yourself off your ass and stop being a little bitch, kind of motif, because that's exactly what she's telling. It's like, because when she says, "What's the truth, damn it?" Because she's like telling, it's like, tell me what the hell's going on with you, And it's like, this is the combination of knowing that we see somebody who's strong in appearance, but kind of weak in, mindset. And then you have to have someone who actually is strong in nature mentally, bring him up, because in a way he kind of brought her up out of her, bubble, in the first two films. Here she's like at that echelon of just being a strong presence, and she's letting him know, it's like, hey, I don't give a damn where we're at. I mean, we could be in the slums or anything, we could be in a $400 million mansion, as long as we're together and you're true to one another, that's all that matters. And like I say, it's a moving piece. I mean, this movie is, it's got that emotion in there, it's got that heart, and it's like what Nubis said, it was a switch from what it was with the first two films. It is, but I feel like this is one of the reasons why I like this film so much as all the Rockies.
Yeah, the fun thing is, Rocky also asked her, "When did you get so tough?" And she answers, "I'm living with a fighter."
Yeah.
Right? There you go.
Mhm. Yeah. So, Anthony, your opinion of Rocky 3?
Very fun movie. This is the one where, like, as we pointed out, changed the formula. And I think it was for the best because after 2 movies of straight drama, I feel like just the third one would have been more of the same. I mean, not more of the same, but would have gotten to the point where it would have just been exhausting to do more of the same for 3 films. So to shake it up and say, let's just start having fun while keeping the drama was brilliant. And one of my favorite things in this film is the character development we see with the character of Rocky. There's the line where Apollo Creed tells him, "You fight great, but you are not a great fighter." And I think this is the movie where Rocky becomes a great fighter because Rocky 1 and 2, he had Mickey coaching him through, giving him pointers. Then in this one, not only has he lost his hunger, but when Mickey has the heart attack, he has no one doing that. And then when he comes back and fights Clubber Lang in the rematch, yeah, he has Apollo coaching him, but there's a point in the film where he stops following what Apollo tells him and trusting his gut in fighting the way he knows he needs to fight. And that's when he wins. So this is the transitional film where we see Rocky evolve into that great fighter. And I think it's just a nice little way in these first 3 films how we see his skill as a fighter just grow and grow to where he becomes that great fighter, and you get the fun of the friendship building between Rocky and Apollo Creed, and the drama is still there. It's just in the background more.
You made a great point, man. Like, because I'd forgotten about it, but when you talked about how Rocky sort of changed his fighting style because Apollo's training him a little bit differently.
Nice. Thanks for joining us, Scottish Geek Guy.
There's a scene when he's fighting Clubber for the second time where Apollo's freaking out. He's like, "What are you doing? Why are you taking these hits?" And then Paulie's like, "No, he's getting mad." And he starts like fucking with his mohawk. You see him doing the thing. He's like, come on, do this. Come on.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good point because like where Apollo didn't really see it, Apollo had been around Rocky for so long, he knew how Rocky was. So that was a cool moment between all 3 of them, really, between Rocky up there and in the ring, and then of course Apollo and Paulie sitting next to her on the side there. So good point.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I still think the third one is probably my favorite because it was the beginning of the change of the franchise to be more featuring more boxing and faster pace, but still had amazing integral personal story throughout the course of the films. So that leaves her to pretty much what is considered to be everyone's favorite, and it is of course Rocky 4. So a little bit of detail on Rocky 4. Of course, it was made in 1985. Of course, it was both written and directed once again by Steven Spielberg. I was going to say. I don't know why I was going to say.
Yeah, it's directed by Steven Spielberg. This is one of his best.
It's because I was talking about Steven Spielberg yesterday. Sylvester Stallone, and of course, this. On a
Imagine Steven Spielberg fighting Ivan Drago.
Oh Christ!
I see him winning.
That could happen.
28 million it cost in it to make, and it made 305 million at the box office. Now this bit is quite interesting. Over the first 5 days of Thanksgiving weekend, it grossed a non-summer record of 31 million. In its 4th week of release, it expanded to a then record 2,232 screens. It spent a total of 6 weeks at the box office at number 1. staying on top through the Christmas and New Year period and grossed a total of $127.8 million in the United States and Canada and a $300.5 million worldwide box office. So basically, this film was a powerhouse when it came out. And, you know, it's probably one of the biggest films of its time when it came out, and for all different reasons. Not only did Stallone once again put together a tremendous story, a tremendous cast. It was full of drama, heartache, redemption, and as Scott Geeks mentioned, the soundtrack is a masterpiece.
Still listen to it to this day.
Yes, this has the best score out of all the Rocky films, and that's another thing that I think Stallone recognised, is that now that the Rocky franchise was fully established, had got a strong following, the third one was like, you know, rocket fuel to what was going to happen next. So then Stallone then started tying in different bands like Eye of the Tiger and all that to go along the side of the movie, and it all worked beautifully to create such an amazing film in the fourth one. And even though I love the training montages throughout the course of every film, the training montage in Russia in the fourth one is the absolute best. I'm not going to fault it. It's just a masterpiece of filmmaking, especially when he's like climbing up the mountain and the car's chasing him. He outruns the car. Just fantastic. And of course, this film is about Rocky, who's like living his best life. Apollo Creed then decides to come out of retirement to take on the Soviet kind of number one boxer.
The Machine.
The Machine, yes.
Siberian Bull.
Yes, can I say his name again?
Ivan Drago.
Ivan Drago, along with his beautiful wife.
Yes, Bridget Nielsen. Yes.
Yes, and I think was she married at the time to
Stallone? I think.
I think so.
I don't know 100%, but I guess they started was City Cobra before Rocky 4 or after?
I think it might have been around this time, but like she had done Beverly Hills Cop 2, so I don't know if they met at that time or not. So it might have been through this film that they got together.
And I forget she was in Red Sonja that year too in '85. I forgot about that.
Yeah, but they were married, I believe. Yeah.
I'm going to mention this. What's people's thought on the director's cut?
I fucking love it.
I haven't watched it yet.
I didn't know there was a director's cut.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched.
Oh, it's really good. I do recommend you watch the direct. They've added more fight sequences to the fight.
Oh, wow.
There's much. It makes this film even better than the cut that was out in theaters. So I do recommend the director's cut. I personally, Scottish Geek guy, love it.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it
It makes the film much stronger.
That's the one I watched yesterday when I was binge watching most of them. And oddly enough, they redid the title too, where it says Rocky 4, Rocky versus Drago.
It does, yeah. It's even they've done a different title sequences at the beginning of the film. So
I can highly recommend to watch the documentary about his director's cut. It's a very interesting documentary. I guess you can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. So we'll start from the bottom to the top again. So Gojira851, your thoughts on Rocky 4?
Okay, so it's funny. This movie came out in 1985. I was born in 1985. So, again, this is the first Rocky film that I saw, and it depicts Soviet Russia and Ivan Drago, and his wife, I can't remember the name of the film, but anyway, they come over to America and they want to challenge heavyweight champion boxer Rocky Balboa to an exhibition bout for just whatever. However, Rocky is retired at the time; he doesn't want to do it. However, they're just talking a big game. Actually, Drago's just sitting there. Everyone else is talking a big game, and Apollo Creed is watching TV. He's seeing all this. He's like, "Oh, we can't let them talk crap." Well, I'm coming out of retirement, and Rocky's like, "Why? I mean, look at this guy. Why you want to come out of retirement?" He's like, I got something to prove." Like as we were talking about before, this has always been Apollo's thing. He always feels like he has to prove something. He always has that feeling like he has something that he wants to do. And it's funny. There's actually a robot in this movie, which we'll get to that later. Which, again, this movie's a lot of fun, but also has a very serious tone to it as well. So, yeah, awesome stuff. So, as we're learning about Drago, we're learning about Apollo, and we had a cameo from James Brown actually in this film as well. And we get to our exhibition bouts where we're going to have Apollo fight Drago, and it seems like we don't know much about Drago, and we think we're going to have Apollo just kind of wipe the floor with him. But we're just only in the first quarter of the film, so we can't really have that. Well, that's not what happens. That's not what happens at all. And we actually have Apollo die in this fight. Yeah, Drago kills Apollo in this fight. It's actually kind of a happenings what happened in a boxing event in real life where someone his neck was actually severed from a punch in the same kind of way in real life, which actually happened in this film as well. If he dies, he dies. I cannot be defeated, which is also movie is actually one of the most quoted of the films as well.
Yeah.
So that's where the tone of the film actually goes from very silly and very campy and actually moves over to more serious. And that's when Rocky decides, well, I've got to avenge my buddy. I got to avenge my brother in arms, my boxing buddy. And that's when he decides to come out of retirement. And that's when everyone starts to look at him like, what are you doing? Well, why are you doing this? Well,
can I also bring up a character that we haven't talked about throughout, who's always quite a strong presence throughout the course, and that's this character.
Yep.
Yes.
That is Tony Burton, who plays Tony Duke Evers in the Rocky films.
Right.
That's essentially Apollo's father in a way. Just to kind of cut through the kind of some red tape of it. That's essentially Apollo's father, a father figure, I should say, in the film. Yeah, and eventually he becomes almost like the new the new Mickey to Rocky. Then, so it's like it almost becomes like that's why I said they're brothers. That they that's pretty much why they all become like one big family, pretty much like big boxing family, essentially. So, yeah. So, and then we lead to my other favorite part of this film. This is a Christmas movie. Yes, this is a Christmas movie because when Rocky decides to go with this one, which actually goes to another part of the movie that I really enjoy, is from the soundtrack of the film, No Easy Way Out, which another excellent film song from this and the soundtrack. And he decides to go for the fight, which actually has clips from Rocky throughout this as well. They decide to have the fight in Russia. Goes there during Christmas. So like, okay, so Apollo dies. And now you're saying you want to go fight this guy during the Cold War. And you want to go to Russia to fight him. It's like, okay, you're signing away your death wish pretty much. So it's like you're giving away all these things. So it's like a hopelessness on top of hopelessness on top of hopelessness. So it almost feels like a big superhero film. This is in the sixth film. Let's go.
He said Duke really comes into his own in the sixth movie. Let's start building some hurt bombs.
That's right.
Yep.
So that's when all the big training montages begin over in Russia. And then another fun part, any Transformers fans?
Yep.
Movies or
Okay.
the cartoons? I'm
The
hoping-
cartoon movie. Actually, let me just cut the trim.
Generation One, nothing beats it.
Yes.
Okay, so the '80s film that came out, Vince DiCola, who actually worked on the soundtrack during like the original music for this film, actually worked on the music for the Transformers film, especially when Unicron was actually transforming into his main form. He did the music for that, pretty much that entire movie as well, besides the licensed music. So yeah, so fun stuff.
Okay.
Newbies, you raise your hand.
No, I'm just doing something else. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, if I'm talking too much, tell me to shut
no,
up.
no.
Because I can go on all night about this.
Shut
So
up.
yeah,
Shut up.
is that a serious
I'm
shut
only
up
kidding.
or is that a serious shut up? If I will,
Matt, don't worry. I talk also too much, and I love that. And that's the passion we have for this
Yeah.
franchise. I could talk
No,
an
no.
hour about every part of the movie. I could talk an hour about Rocky
Nina
One.
could actually just take over and talk about everything. We could just sit here and listen.
all right, great.
No, it's-
Until we get to
no,
Rocky
no.
5, then I'll let you guys take over on that. But all right, so the first montage is going on, good stuff. However, you can kind of feel that there's kind of like a feeling of dread with the way how the music is going, the way how the training is going. You feel like there's a moment of dread, especially since Adrian doesn't come with him. It's like, oh, he's all by himself. Well, shit. He really did go to his death, didn't he? Until the next morning, you see that Adrian has come, and now his wife is there, and then you have that feeling of, oh, great, I'm feeling good. And then, boom, Hearts of Fire starts playing. Heart-pounding music. Awesome, great stuff. Starts with the great pounding of the next montage. He starts running up the mountain, Drago, yeah, Drago, blah, blah, blah. All that other stuff happens. Then we get to the fight. In my opinion, this is the best fight sequence of the entire Rockies franchise. And it's a good 20-minute fight between them. Now, I didn't see the director's cut. I wish I had. I can't find anywhere. Now, it was in theaters. However, it was in select theaters in my area. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a theater where I could go. And now apparently it's on like MGM Plus or some shit like that. And I have to download a stupid app for it. And I don't feel like doing that because I'm lazy apparently. But whatever. I'll go do it later. But anyway, it's the best fight sequence in my opinion. And essentially it's a hero trying to slay a dragon. And it's funny that Drago is one letter off from dragon, but whatever.
Yeah, you
And it's an awesome back and forth between these heroes. And you can actually feel that in a very hostile crowd of Russians, they start to turn from cheering on Drago to cheering Rocky. And you actually hear the members of the USSR actually getting angry. The 4-disc theatrical. Oh, shit. Thank you. I'm going to buy that at work tomorrow. Thank you.
Get yourself the 4K and you'll be in business.
Thank you. I didn't know that. Thank you. I love physical media. I'd rather do that than download another stupid app. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
But anyway, so we get to the closing moments of the fight, and everybody's saying, Rocky, Rocky, Rocky. And then finally we hear Drago actually speak a full sentence in the entire movie. I mean, maybe he speaks more in the director's cut, but anyway. And he fights for himself, and then the fight goes on, and Rocky wins. Crowd goes wild, and they start playing music again, and we get the final shot of him being lifted up and with the American flag on. Awesome stuff. Favorite of the franchise. I'll stop now.
Yeah, I agree. Scottish Geek Guy.
Yes,
Keep
he does it.
physical media alive.
Damn
Fuck
straight.
Screaming.
We should have had Scott
I
on here.
want me physical media.
And I'm spent.
Yeah. Jake Hall, take over.
Okay, so like Rocky finished battling Clubber Lang. He's now retired and all that. And of course, Russian Drago and his wife and the dictator that speaks for Drago, that doesn't allow Drago to speak. He's sitting here saying he wants to fight Rocky, and Rocky doesn't want to do it. But then Apollo's like, then I'll fight this chump and all that. And he starts dancing on a little platform for their fight. obviously to James Brown. And then he's like, "Oh, it gets better, baby. It gets better. Don't worry." And he's almost done, as the ring announcer's telling him who he is and all that. And then they get to the fight. Drago just like, "Oh, come on, bring on. Is that all you got? Is that all you got?" And pretty much takes it to him. Pretty much kills him. Rocky looks up at him and he's like, "Oh, you mother." So he decides to go to Russia and all that because that's the only way he's going to fight Drago's unless it's in Drago's home country. Well, he goes to tell Adrian about it. Well, actually, Adrian finds out due to paparazzi being at the house. And Rocky's confused, like, "Why are you so against this?" And that's when Adrian tells him that you can't beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, and that set Rocky off, and he was like, "Okay, then I'll just go without you then." So he ends up going to Russia, him and his colleagues. He starts training, and then, like, the very next day, Adrian realized that she effed up and was like, "I'm here to support you." And then you have the wonderful training montage. Stallone grows a nice full beard, mustache, all of that as he's training, and all that. And Drago goes through this intense training, especially on the treadmill when they're like, "Raise the platform up." And he's sitting here like,
Yeah, that's
so after that, we get to the fight. You know, everybody's cheering for Drago. About midway in the fight, that's when everybody's starting, because Rocky's getting into his groove now, and that's when everybody's starting to chant, "Rocky, Rocky." And then, like, right before the end of the battle, that dictator that speaks for him, he's like, "You're going to let this individual win? You're worthless," and all that, or something similar to that. And Drago just grabs him by the throat, throws him down, and he's like, "I fight for me now."
Mm-hmm.
And then after the fight, Drago comes up, like, "Much respect." And then he gives a speech.
He actually says, "To the end."
Yep. And then that's how the film ends. So, yep. That's it for me.
DJ Nubis.
Yeah, so I'm not going to rehash everything you guys already did, but like the one things I will point out is, at least from a different perspective, is this movie also, like, not just about Apollo Creed and his death and stuff like that, but it also with the tensions between the U.S. and Russia. And so the idea they were playing off of that during the Cold War and all that, where, you know, they wanted to go back to Russia and fight there because they couldn't trust Americans, you know, the way that Bridget Nielsen's character would put it. And then also how, again, as you brought up before, Matt and Jake, that, you know, Drago was using a lot of high-tech machinery to get fit and trained. And then Rocky went old school. He was like in a barn in the middle of winter and just punching bags and anything else he can find that was not like an actual machine. He was going old school, back to his old style of training, just trying to get back to basics, really. And again, like, just the way that, you know, his wife shows up, Adrian, and the way that they were supporting him during this time was great. I even liked at the time when he was running around in the snow, like the tape was falling around, and he found a way to, like, outrun them, and because
that's one of my favorite bits. That's one of my favorite parts, like the montage of him in Russia. And there's like 9 inches of snow, and he's faster than a car, and he's just plowing through the snow, climbing up mountains, logs on back, just phenomenal.
And then that final line really is what really seals the deal for this movie for me, is when he says, you know, it's better that two men fight in this ring than everyone else getting hurt in the world, you know, because of all the tension with war and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it. And even the Russian people in the movie understood, because they were translating, of course, what he was saying. So yeah, it's a great moment.
Nenad.
Yeah, Matt already told the most of it, and I'm not diving into the movie. I'm want more about the what happened about the movie, because 1985, it's the heart of the Cold War, and when you live in Berlin, you felt it every day, because we had the wall, and we had Russia around the corner, and you felt it. You felt it every day. The Cold War. That how safe are we in Berlin? And then a movie like Rocky Four comes, where an American fights a Russian in Russia, and you know that the intense of the Cold War, you felt it. Like I said, every day in Berlin. So that movie was a special movie, because you could go into the cinema and watch a movie and forget about all the stuff. But okay, you couldn't really forget about the stuff, because in the movie they showed you the Cold War and the fight between America and Russia. But we lived it every day in our backyard with the wall, and you had the Russians, so you had the Americans, the Brits, and the French all over the place. So it was a special movie, just not for only the Americans. It was also a special movie for us Germans, because especially in Berlin, because we were so isolated from the world in
That must have
1985,
been very,
before the
very hard.
I was gonna say.
yeah, before the wall fall. So it was for us the first time when we saw Rocky. It's like, come on, Hollywood, what are you doing? That would never happen, that an American goes to Russia and fights an American, and the Russians will cheer up an American. But we didn't. And when we watched the movie and we thought about it after the great speech Rocky did at the end, we thought, okay, yeah, there is something, but we hope for the best. But the fall of the Berlin Wall was, nobody was thinking about it. So it was a special movie because of the Cold War, and it's so refreshing. So I don't want to go into the movie because everybody said something. I just want to put some facts out, if I'm allowed. So there is at that time, Dolph Lundgren wasn't even an actor. He was a chemical engineer with an IQ of, so he has an IQ of 160, and he Sylvester Stallone found him, and I don't know what went into his head, but Dolph Lundgren almost killed Sylvester Stallone. When he asked him, just give me a hard punch, and Dolph Lundgren gave him a punch. He went 4 days in an intensive care station and almost died about it. And then there was Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers was so pissed at Dolph Lundgren because he's no actor, and he was throwing him through the ring and everything. And Carl Weathers went so mad that he said, "Hey, damn, I quit. I cannot do a movie with this guy. He's not an actor. He don't know what he's doing. He's so strong. He has to be calm down." And the funny thing is, Sylvester Stallone wanted that the punches are sounding very, very hard. With the regular sound effects, it doesn't work. So he took gunshots through melons, and that's what he used as the punches for the hits of Ivan Drago. So of course, in 1985 they couldn't go to Russia. The Russians would never let Sylvester Stallone and an American crew into America, so they went to Wyoming with minus 35 degrees Celsius. it was, I don't know how much this is in American temperature. It's minus 35 Celsius, and they
Cold.
did the shooting over there, and they had struggles. Like the guys from Star Wars had struggles. The cameras froze, everything froze, and they had absolutely problems with the technique over there. And but the sound, like I said, the soundtrack. Like Matt said, the soundtrack is awesome and it fits perfectly. And there we come to
answer
sorry,
your question.
Anthony.
To answer your question about the temperature, minus 35 Celsius is negative 31 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
Okay, and that's what they had in Wyoming. Like we said, Matt said it perfectly. Because with the cutting and the music, like we had on the discussion yesterday, without Sergei Eisenstein, we wouldn't have this montage. So that's a good callback, because the montage, I have to say, in Rocky IV is one of the best from the whole franchises. And like in recent interviews, Sylvester Stallone said
I would
he
actually
regrets
say
that
not just the. I would have said not just the best soundtrack in the franchise, but I would just see one of the best soundtracks in film.
Okay, that's debatable, but that's for another topic. That's for another topic. What I want to say is that Rocky IV it was a good escape for us in Berlin. So I hope I didn't forget anything, because for me, like I said, the music is great. How they cut it together, and that movie didn't felt so long. It was a 90-minute movie, like all the movies back in the days, but it felt like I'm watching a 1-hour movie, and it was so well written and well paced. But but we have to talk about Paulie and his relationship with the robot. It's I don't know what Paul. I don't know what Paul.
I don't really want to talk about his relationship with each other.
I don't know what Paul.
I want to give.
I don't know what
chance to speak. So
okay,
I'm gonna move on to Jedi.
I understand. I understand the hint.
So, Mr. Jedi, your opinions.
Excuse me for a second. Okay. No. Everything everyone said is spoken about in this film. Great sound. I love this soundtrack. This soundtrack is killer. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, it really is. I mean, the storyline and it. I just feel, this is just my opinion. I feel the reason why this film got made because of the Cold War theme. Because let's be honest, the 80s, it was stepping on eggshells kind of moment. I mean, it was just like, you say the wrong thing, and I'm talking about Americans saying that whatever Russia is doing, it's like they're going to do this. It's like, well, you got this fear that they're going to do something, but who's to say that you're not going to do something? You're just as mentally something like that. But that's what I was thinking at the time. But looking at this film, it's really just another stepping stone of, if you want to say it, evolution of Rocky. His whole mentality, because he's gone through, the so-called slums or the ghetto, whatever you want to call it. Gets a little bit of fame, but how to manage it. Then he's really up into the point where he's, a millionaire, maybe billionaire, I'm not for sure. And he has to struggle with that, thinking that, is he a real fighter? And then here it's like he's retired, but where do you stand in terms of who you are as an individual? And it's like, and I didn't want to see this. Deadly Truth, I did not want to see this film outright. I didn't see it when it first came out. I'm like, I'm thinking it's just a cash grab, And when I found out it grossed all that money, it's like, really? It's that well made, real good, And then when I actually did see it, it's like, okay, I guess it's better than I thought it was, So
Mhm.
In the end, though, the movie is, a testament to, what we see the character evolve into and what we see him later on in life. Because it's kind of funny how you start with something, but then in the end, you kind of leave with nothing, and you're still the person that you were before. So,
If you're talking about cash grabs, I think the next film we'll talk about, I feel, is a cash grab.
Mhm.
But Anthony Jordan, your thoughts on the fourth one?
This is my favorite one, and I do feel as a whole it's the most optimistic film in the franchise, which is one of the things I latch onto. We've talked about the Cold War. At the end of World War II, the world was pretty much split in half, east and west. And as Needham mentioned, Berlin almost kind of felt like the epicenter because of the Berlin Wall, which I actually own a little piece of. That was the fault line of the split during the Cold War. And it had just been decades of uncertainty. Are the bombs going to drop? What's going to happen? Many of us some of us can either remember, or our parents could tell us about the drills they would have at school for the bomb. And this film came out right as the Soviet Union was declining and people were ready for that war to be over. And what I love about the fight and I find inspiring is that just Rocky's determination earns the respect of the crowd. And I know they did things different in the director's cut, but for the theatrical cut, I just feel it captured those feelings that people were having at the time, where it was like we were just ready for this thing to be over. And despite it being the most fun one, having the best songs in the franchise, and a lot of the film being a montage, it still has those great dramatic moments you still expect from a Rocky film. So, yeah, for me, Rocky 4 for the win all the way around.
Definitely. Yes. So here we are, though. Moving on to the next one in the franchise, which, of course, is
Rocky 6.
yeah, that's 6. Yeah.
Well, so this feels like this film just felt like
Go
it
for it.
was a complete and utter just cash grab.
Is there anyone who likes that movie?
It just
Hang on. Let me look.
So,
Isn't it?
so
Isn't it
Hang on a
funny?
few minutes.
Isn't it funny that when Matt said "Go for it," that's the only song in that movie that I actually like.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't like that song. There's a different song in that movie that I like. It's funny. It's during the credits, but we'll get to that.
yeah. So Sylvester Stallone wrote this one, but he didn't direct it. John G. Avildsen. He is the director of this movie, and obviously this film cost 30 to 42 million, and it only made 120 million at the box office. It was actually beaten by The Rescuers Down Under, so that just tells you the interest. But basically, the story of this movie is that Rocky Balboa is financially struggling. He agrees to train a protege, which is Tommy Gunn. And, but then, of course, at the gym, which was the gym that Mickey owned, and then he's trying to teach him the ways he was brought, and obviously Tommy's not very taking it in. He's greedy for fame. He's greedy for the accolades that Rocky once had. Hence why he wanted Rocky to be his trainer, because he thought, well, if I get Rocky Balboa to train, all eyes will be on me. And basically, you've got this manager that kind of seduces him into, his mind and gets him to turn on Rocky. And unlike the other movies, which it ends in a boxing match. This ends in a street fight,
Yeah.
which is very different, and they did take this to a whole different area and level. So, Anthony, I'm going to let you take the lead on this. So,
Okay, this film has a reputation for being the black sheep, and I fully understand it. It was at the time just, no matter how you cut it, a depressing end to the franchise because Rocky loses everything and doesn't really gain anything back by the end of the movie. I do kind of like where they went with him training someone else and becoming Mickey, but they took a swerve with that. I will say the existence of the next film and seeing that Rocky does pick himself back up does make this film a little better, but overall I do agree it's the weakest film in the franchise. I don't hate it, but I still find it watchable. We have I don't know, it's just, like I said, I do get it if you don't like this one, even if I don't personally hate it. The street fight was a nice, fun change of pace, and I will say one other interesting thing, knowing what we know now about CTE, this film in some ways was actually ahead of its time, so yeah, I don't love it, but I don't think it's as bad as many people. And also, I think it's funny to imagine after Rocky through the thinly veiled Don King manager that he went on to become a coroner and took a bite out of Jason's heart.
Yeah.
yeah. Like, I don't hate this film. I just think after how big the fourth film was, they should have just left it alone. But then, obviously, he came up with this story, and then obviously he kind of redeemed the franchise in the next one, which is simply titled Rocky Balboa, and it's because of that success we moved on to the Creed franchise.
I feel like this one really needed the director's cut more than Rocky 4.
Well, the problem with this one was, in my opinion, is they were trying to go back and find that like feeling from the first couple ones. That's what they were going after. But the problem is, and it goes back to what Kevin says, when you start building something up like Rocky 3 and Rocky 4, you have to keep going big. And I mean, you can sometimes fuck that up if you do like Rocky Fast, Rocky Furious. You don't want to do that, but you want to at least find a way to keep your audience engaged. And this film, the way that it was written, didn't follow that suit. It tried to go back to its basics, just like going back to those first couple where the drama was more of down home. It wasn't so big and so loud, but people didn't really resonate with that. They wanted bigger and better. They just wanted like another fighter like Drago or whatever. It's just, it never really captured the audiences like we wanted it to.
Jedi Granville, your opinion of Rocky 5?
Well, I'll do Matt a favor and say that I don't hate this, but it's what it is, you know. I should say it like that. I will say this though. I'll kind of put up a cherry on top of what the news was saying. This film, you know, they're trying to regain something that they had done previously back in the mid 70s with it, because they got the same director who directed the first one to direct this, you know. So I guess they were trying to get that flavor back in a more 90s feel. But yeah, I mean, I could tell if that's what they were going for, but I think they kind of, you know, lost it. And the only thing I can say redeeming in this film, as far as, you know, how they were doing anything, is the struggle of Rocky's son, his situation with dealing with, you know, just adolescent life, you know, dealing with bullies, you know. This is something I particularly had to deal with growing up, you know, dealing with, you know, somebody's trying to like, you know, stand up to you, make it seem like, you know, it's like, you know, do something, you know, it's like come up. Of course, they wouldn't do that when I got to almost 6 feet, and it's like, come to me, I'm gonna knock your ass out, you know. So, but that's just how it is, you know. It's like This is one of those films like I see what they were trying to go for, but yeah, it's kind of like what Anthony said. It's like the black sheep of the family. So,
Nenad.
Yeah, I can clearly say is that I really don't like this movie because there are so many reasons because I when because Rocky is such dear to my heart, and you all guys see how passionate about the movie I am. It's what didn't work in number 5 is John G. Avildsen and Rocky. They're constantly were fighting on set because Avildsen wanted that Rocky is dying at the end, and Sylvester Stallone doesn't want it to die. So they had not that chemistry like they did on the first day. They constantly were fighting, and that's what you feel in the movie because I don't know why John G. Avildsen didn't listen to Rocky Sylvester Stallone because Sylvester Stallone wanted oops sorry hold on, sorry I came I wrote it here down and hold on hold on
hold on to your love.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone wanted more family, more passion, more everything, and John G. Avildsen wanted something totally different, and that's why Rocky 5 didn't work for me. So, but there is some good stuff in the movie, like the fight between Rocky and his son, his real life son, and
Yes.
they didn't have the best chemistry privately. So it was like in Rocky 1 when Sylvester Stallone was doing his speech in the Scheiß house to Mickey. That's the same what Sage Stallone did with Sylvester Stallone in Rocky 5. He let all his anger out and talked about it. And there is another great stuff. The necklace with the glove he gave his son. That's actually the original necklace Rocky got from Mickey. And Sylvester Stallone kept it and used it in this film. That I think was a nice touch. And like Anthony said, Sylvester Stallone and Rocky 5 was the first time before the NFL even checked with the CTEs and the injuries in the heads and everything. And I my opinion about the movie is wouldn't John G. Avildsen and Sylvester Stallone had these big fights on the set and not listening to each other, the movie could be really, really better. So my opinion is, would that movie should be had to be directed by Sylvester Stallone, and we would have way better movie. But luckily, we have this movie. Wouldn't we have this bad movie, we wouldn't have Rocky 6.
Very true. DJ Anubis.
Actually, you can go right to Jake. I mean, I said pretty much what I wanted to on this. It's not my favorite at all in this series. I don't really enjoy it. I never really go back to it, but I do think they were just trying to go back to the well that they had from the first two. And I didn't know that about the director and Stallone not really getting along. So that's a good piece of
yeah, and it kind of makes sense as well when you watch it.
What's that?
It kind of makes sense when you watch it. It doesn't feel like this film gels as well as the other movies.
Yeah. But yeah, Jake, you can go, brother.
Yeah, so the fifth one, after rewatching it, like everyone else says, it's not one of my favorites. It is, to me, a little boring in a way for me. It was sad that when Rocky was training Tommy.
Didn't that
that
actor get AIDS at some point or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have no idea, but
Yes.
anyway.
He contracted AIDS.
Ugh. And his son is also training in the same gym so he can protect himself from the bullies. Well, once he gets his coat back and tries to tell his father's like, "Oh, great job! Just tell your mother. I'm training Tommy here."
Also,
Like, not a care in the world, and that kind of brought back memories for me. But I won't get into that. But anyway, the movie was pretty much Rocky, trying to rebuild his life, which in a way he really didn't. And, he's trying not to fight because he really wants to fight. So he uses Tommy to fight because during his fight with Drago, he suffered brain damage and it could possibly have killed him if he got into another fight, which then you have the street fight, one more battle, because Tommy wanted to prove something thanks to the guy that's been poking at Balboa and his family. And the only best part about that film is when the guy's like, "If you touch me, I'll sue you. Go ahead, touch me." And he's like, bam, right in the kiss. And he's like, "Sue me for what?"
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't one of my favorites. So on to you, Matt.
What I want to say is, I respect that Sylvester Stallone took in every movie that he tried to put in real boxers. So like Tommy, what's his name? Tommy
Morrison.
The actor Tommy Morrison. He was he is a original boxer, and that he had Paulie, who's a boxer, that he has Duke, who is a boxer, that he has a lot of people who know about boxing, that these people were in the movie, and that also my personally is that made the franchise more how do you say it in English, more credible.
It made it feel more realistic and genuine. The fact that he hired real boxers with real life history within the sport.
I'd say since Jake
it gave it like an organic feel, like it felt real and genuine and authentic. And it wasn't just like some fictionalized version of boxing. It felt like a genuine, I guess, biography of the sport by bringing in real talented boxers. And like you said, when it came to say Dolph Lundgren, no acting not a boxer, but just like Stallone, and even I guess Mr. T, he learned what he needed to do by probably practicing and working with real life boxers to be able to do the skills to make it look as authentic and realistic as possible.
And what I wanted to say, sorry, Anthony, keep going.
Since Jake brought up the dynamic with Rocky and his son, that is another nice thing about this film, is that for the first time ever, you see Paulie putting someone else before him, and he takes Rocky's son under his wing and teaches him. So that's a very gratifying moment in the film.
Mm-hmm.
For me, why I also doesn't like the movie is because Rocky, that's the only movie where I personally find that Rocky is not Rocky. He didn't do. Normally, Rocky wouldn't. That's my opinion. He would never, because he's such a big family guy. He would never talk to his son and say, "Oh yeah, great, go to your mama." And Rocky would never do this because Rocky is the biggest family guy, and that for me felt off. And like Anthony said, I love that touch that Paulie took his son under the wings because he's the uncle, and Paulie was and is ever a really bad human being, and that was a nice take. I have to give that to Anthony that he mentioned it. But for me, Rocky 5 doesn't feel like the core of the character Rocky itself. It's for me, he wasn't Rocky. He was. I don't know what he was, but for me he wasn't Rocky. He didn't felt like Rocky.
Yeah, out of character. Matt?
Okay, so I'll keep this short and sweet because I don't want to like bore you guys with it. But yeah, this movie, I don't hate this movie anymore. As a kid and now as younger, yeah, I hated it. But yeah, I've watched it a couple of times since then, and yeah, it's fine. But okay, let me talk about things I do like about this film. Okay, Paulie is the MVP of this film. He keeps it together more than actually Rocky does. And my favorite scene of his is actually in the bar at the end of it when Tommy shows up with George Washington Duke. What a name. With George Washington Duke, and they're trying to call out Rocky for a fight. And it's funny. He keeps up with it. And none of my business. Men spit blood for you, put you before his own family. And now you're treating him like garbage. He's the MVP of the film, okay? Paulie of the film. He's a fantastic actor and just outstanding job he did this entire movie. Now, something that confused the hell out of me when I was a kid was Sage Stallone in this movie as Rocky's son. Now, I understand he's Rocky's son. He's Sylvester Stallone's son in real life. But after seeing Rocky 4 and seeing the way how he looked in that movie and seeing how young he looked in that, and then when I saw him arrive in Rocky 5 and seeing how aged up he was, it's supposed to be like directly after. As a kid, I said to myself, how long was he in Russia for? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Just as a kid, I didn't put two together. They just recast him. Just, silly me as a kid.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That felt like to me that there was a force casting. I feel as if Stallone was like, I'm just going to cast my own son in it.
Mm-hmm.
And but I have to remember, though, Sage Stallone has sadly passed away.
Yes, he has.
He did sadly pass away.
I feel that Talia Shire was kind of wasted as a character in this because all her scenes in this film were kind of as it all breaks down to, no, my husband's retired, leave him alone, and yelling Rocky. I feel like every other word out of her mouth was those. I feel like they could have used her better in this film. There's just a lot of meat on the bone, and they just gave her like just scraps to really work with. Okay, I feel they could have used her more in it. It felt downright depressing at points, to the point where it's like, no. And the part when Junior did beat up the bullies and then got his coat back, and he said, yeah, go tell your mother. Yeah, the mother who got into a coma during labor with them and almost died. Yeah, I'm sure Rocky would have. I'm sure he would have reacted that way. Oh yeah, of course. No, he wouldn't have. So yeah, I don't agree with that.
No.
All right, now This is the last thing I'll say. The street fight was outstanding. It was awesome. I wouldn't put it above the Rocky Drago fight, no, but I thought the street fight was awesome. But the final scene of the film where they had the Elton John song "Measure of a Man," I thought was a fantastic song for it, and I thought it was a great cap for the entire film and actually put my mind at ease with the entire movie. But we wouldn't have gotten the Sylvester Renaissance in the early 2000s, though. But then we'll talk about that with Rocky 6. But as far as like grading it, I would give it probably like a B now. At first I would have given like a D minus if I was younger, but I would give more like a B now. I've chilled out on Rocky 5.
For me, Rocky 5 is like you have the movie Moonraker and you have the movie Never Say the remake with Sean Connery. It's like it felt like they did a remake of a Rocky movie with the same actors, but they were not Adrian. They were not Rocky. Paulie was totally different. In this way, he was more relatable and he was a cool guy. But I felt all these characters were completely different. It's like you saw a reboot of a Rocky movie with the actual Rocky cast. So it felt totally off for me, and that's why I don't know. I watched it a couple times, but sorry, I cannot get warm with it. It's for me. It's like when you love the franchise so much as we do, and you get a movie like Rocky Five. It's like it's like when you bought an A+ home and your dad says, "What the fuck is this?" and gives you a fucking slap in your face. That felt it for me. It's like a disrespect to the whole franchise, and it's so I will I cannot like that movie. It's I tried, but I cannot. And sorry, but this is for me like
No,
nah.
you're being
Sorry.
honest with your feelings.
That's the
all
beauty
good.
of entertainment. One man's greatest film ever made is the next man's worst movie I've seen in my life.
Correct.
It's cool.
And the thought
Yeah,
of what
I
one.
I put it this way: Rocky Five is the last Jedi of Star Wars.
Mm.
Yeah, but I think the last. Okay, I see what you're saying. Last Jedi.
No, it's the Rise of Skywalker, which is an absolute fucking shit show.
I was gonna say
Anyway,
Oh,
Okay.
hilarious.
Anyway,
I'm going to move on to the next movie, which just when you thought we were safe in that they had ended the franchise on a sour
This time
note,
it's personal.
Yeah, there
they
you go.
kind of
Yeah.
redeemed themselves. Because for me personally, when I first heard that Stallone was coming back, like I think it's 16, 17 years or something after the last film.
About 16.
Obviously, his age was a factor. I was thinking, there's no way he's coming back as Rocky. There's no way. This felt very desperate, and this is just how I felt. It felt desperate. It felt like another cash grab, but in essence, it actually turned out to be the redeemer, in my opinion, in the true final of the franchise. And of course, we're talking about Rocky Balboa. So Rocky Balboa, which is titled his full name in the movie. Obviously, it's from 2006. It stars Sylvester Stallone. It also they brought back Burt Young, Antonia Tarver, in his first and only acting role. And the film is about Rocky Balboa, who is now at peace with his, like, I guess, his career as a boxer. He's now the owner of a small Italian restaurant where he reminisces about his life as a boxer with Apollo Creed and Mickey and all of that. But then there's a young boxer who, there's like on, Sky Sports where they do like this computer generated, exhibition of a legendary boxer versus him. His name's Mason Dixon. And in the generated imagery, it shows that Rocky.
One second, I will be right back. Yeah,
no problem.
I will be right back. I have to need my charger for my tablet.
That's no problem. So what ends up happening is the generated imagery shows that a Rocky Balboa in his prime would wipe the floor with Mason Dixon. So this really irritates and annoys this young upstart boxer who then decides to challenge the real Rocky Balboa to an exhibition match. But then there's been some changes in Rocky's life. We do discover that Adrian has sadly passed. He's still at odds with his much older son now. He's befriended this female who's the owner of the local bar where similar to in Philadelphia where there's riff raff come in the bar and torment, and he kind of puts his his oar in it, like tells him to piss off and stuff like that. I'm very glad though that they didn't turn that into his new love interest. I'm glad that it just stayed like platonic and he was just like a friend and protected her.
Right.
And then obviously as the film progresses, you just see like the young star kind of intimidating him or trying to get under his skin, but Rocky's a lot more mellow. And for me, just the whole story, the personal story, how they kind of used the new modern technology and kind of explained the science and the medical science behind real reasoning for why Rocky came back. Because when he had his fight with Drago, they said he had this brain damage. If he fought again, he'd probably die. But why Stallone decided to write this book? Because there was advancement in medical technology. Sorry, this film. Why he wrote this film? Because there was they realized the injury that they thought he had in the fourth film. Medical advancement realized if he had that condition, it wouldn't be as serious or as life-threatening as the first thought. So because of that, it made it that Rocky probably could have fought again after sustaining that brain injury. So Stallone wanted to write a film that compensated the new medical knowledge that had been discovered through the advancements. And that's another reason why he won. He wanted to tie it all together. But he also, I think, wanted to give Rocky a better, more satisfying ending than what he had in the fifth film. So we'll start with Anthony.
Okay, Bert, just a little fun story about how I first learned about this movie. I forget which movie I was going to see in the theater. I think it was Quantum of Solace, which big mistake there. But there was a preview for this film before Quantum of Solace, and the entire theater, once they saw it was another Rocky film with Rocky coming back at his age to fight another fighter, like the entire audience laughed. So that's the perception I know a lot of people went into this movie with, and I completely wrote it off. I'm like, this is going to be completely ridiculous. This is going to be stupid. It wasn't till a few years later I saw it on cable, and it just hit me how well this movie is. It goes back to the serious, dramatic film. We have a Rocky who hasn't quite got over his grief and has some regrets, and then we get that computer-generated fight, which leaves him questioning things and feels like he needs to do more. And just the nice bookmarks in this film, like forming the friendship with the woman who was that girl he walked home in the first film, the training montage and how they approached it realistically, that you're old, you can't move as fast, so you're going to have to hit hard. And my favorite thing, and I love how it bookends these 6 films really nicely, the first film was not about Rocky winning. It was about proving he can go the distance. And the same thing in this film. It's not about him winning. It's proving to himself that he can still go the distance. And I do think that's a beautiful message, that you don't have to win. As long as you give it your all and leave nothing behind, even if you don't win, you can still be proud of the effort you put forth and walk away with your head held high. So yeah, I do love this film. It took everyone by surprise, and it just delivered and redeemed the franchise and ended it on a high note. And I'd also be remiss if I left out the scene where he gives his son that speech, which is the most inspirational moment in the entire franchise.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like for that scene alone, Stallone should have been nominated for an Oscar for this.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And, it had a budget of 24 million. It made 156 million at the box office. It was an unexpected box office success, and it exceeded the studio's expectations. So I think in all, it truly did bring the franchise back, and it truly ended it on a massive high note. And Stallone had complete control of this movie. He directed it and he wrote it, so you can clearly see the divide where the original Rocky director, who directed the fifth one, even though Stallone wrote the stories, I don't think his direction style fitted later on with the fifth one, because, like you say, I think he was a director that focused more on bringing the drama to the screen rather than the main point of the story, and it just didn't gel right. Where you've seen when Stallone's in charge in front and behind the camera, he's magic. You can see the passion. You can see he knows his characters. You can see that basically this is his world he's created, and he's completely, when he's in complete control of it, magic just happens. And
nobody knows Rocky better than Sylvester Stallone.
Yes. So, Jedi, your thoughts on Rocky Balboa?
Well, I won't add too much as because I think Anthony's pretty much said it. Because in fact, it's kind of weird because I can't remember the movie that I saw in the theater before this, but I saw a preview of this film, and I kind of got the same effect that the audience that Anthony was watching with, the same that was when I was watching it. I was like, really? We're gonna see Rocky fight someone? In their prime, and this guy's like a dinosaur. I'm like, no way. This is not.
There was someone in the audience that screamed Geritol, man.
and it's kind of but it in all fairness though, it kind of makes sense because just a few years before this film came out, it was a film called Space Cowboys, which had Clint Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, Don Sutherland, and John Garner playing astronauts who didn't get their chance, but when something comes up, they get pushed up into space to do something, which it was something incredible. It was actually a thing that happened in real life when I can't remember the astronaut's name that actually was old, got a chance to go into space, on the shuttle. But it's mirroring real life events to where it was, it's holding up to some kind of reality. So when I actually did, because I didn't see it in the theater, I didn't see it at all. I actually kind of like Anthony, I saw it later on down the line on cable, and I was actually pretty impressed by it. I was kind of like, really, I'm actually enjoying this. This is actually weird. I would think I'm not going to get no enjoyment out of this. This is not exactly what I was thinking. It actually did a good service. It actually did something that I was not expecting it to do. It actually brought out something that what number 5 did should have done, but unfortunately, well, we already know the story on that. And no, and in hindsight, Stallone, being an Asian individual, it didn't surprise me that he would do another Rambo film, 2 years later. So it's like, yeah, he's trying to recap some, but I feel with this one, I think it's a little bit much of a grounded expectation of it. And I'm glad that it did do what it did, and it did express what it was supposed to express.
Mm-hmm. Nenad.
Yeah, for me, that movie is, I saw it in cinema, and when I left, I had tears in my eyes because I absolutely loved the movie. And after the disaster with movie 5, we actually got Rocky back, how Rocky he is, and the struggling. And my opinion is it was a good choice that Adrian is not anymore in the movie, and he opened the restaurant and living backwards and telling the same stories every evening the same story, visiting every day her grave, like living a living in the past, and also when he is going with Paulie, these rounds they do, and Paulie couldn't handle it anymore because Paulie realized how bad he was the whole time to his wife and to everybody, and he doesn't want to be remembered all the time that Rocky and Adrian had such a good life, and he was so miserable and was so bad to everybody, and he had to work again in the meat house and gets retired and um, talks to Rocky, and there is this speech in the hall. I call it like a hallway where Rocky had this emotional talk with Paulie about the stuff in the basement. That there is so much stuff in the basement that has to come out of him that he's shared. It's like when you put everything in the stomach one time, it has to explode, and he realized he had to do something, and then he had the opportunity to have this fight to get everything out, and then with his son doubting him because not and blaming his father that the son is not where he is, and he's giving him this amazing speech with the that the life is not always rainbows and sunshine. It hits you on the ground, and if you don't fight, it will keep you permanently on the ground. So get up and fight and do the things you worth, and do what you have to do, and don't blame this one, or this one for your own mistakes. Go and get what you worth and fight for it. And that's what Rocky did his whole life. And he finally, his son gets it, and then he has met this in his round at the Lucky Seven Tavern where he always went, and there he met this girl. He walked home, and she said to him, "Screw you, creepo." But then they built a friendship, and he went to the and that's a nice take, because he went to the dog parlor and they got the dog, and they called him Punchy because the guys in Rocky 3, in Rocky 3 they called him Punchy. So that's why he liked the name in this movie. So then then he had this great speech with the guys where they say, "You're old. We cannot allow you to fight." And then he gave the speech. They allowed him, and he's training with all these old guys, and he couldn't train anymore like he did before. And then they have this fight, and even the Antonio Tarver doesn't take him seriously. And they had this brilliant fight where this old guy, nobody was thinking about that this old guy can go the distance. And he said, like in the first movie, like Anthony said, "I want to go the distance and get rid of everything what's in my stomach to live a peaceful life." And that's what he did. And the great thing about this movie that's so parallel to the real life, nobody wanted to produce that movie, so Sylvester Stallone paid 95% of the whole budget by himself and went the risk of doing this movie. And he once said, he said once, "Rocky Balboa is a movie I had to make to live again." And that says everything, because I believe he wasn't happy with the ending of Rocky 5. So
No,
I'm happy we had.
you can tell he wasn't. You could tell he wasn't. If he was having disputes with the director, then of course, and it didn't go his way, then of course even though he doesn't actually own the rights, which I want to talk about after this a little bit. Even though Stallone actually created the character, and even though he's written and directed, virtually all of the best films in the franchise, Stallone doesn't own the rights to Rocky. It doesn't own the rights to Rambo, even though he created those characters. Well, didn't create Rambo, but he produced them. The only one he has more financial stakes in and more control over is The Expendables, which is his third franchise that he's known for. And the producer kept the right to the franchise, and he basically gets like a backhanded payment of the producer for whatever amount, which just kind of sucks, especially, with the frustrations. But even though he knew that, he still wanted to make Rocky Balboa because he was that dissatisfied with the last film. The fifth one, he wanted to end the franchise and give them a good memory. So when people look at the franchise, they're like, not all the last film didn't suck, because the sixth one, Rocky Balboa, is now the last one. And then he came up with the idea, of course, with the Creed films, which we're not going to go into detail about. I'm not going to talk about them, but he came up with the idea of continuing the franchise as a trainer for Creed's son. He was involved in the first two films, but then because of the dispute with the producer, Michael B. Jordan kind of took over and did the third one, which I enjoyed. Michael B. Jordan reminds me very much like Stallone in terms of he's an executive producer and a lot of his properties he works on, including Sinners. So I was very pleased with what Michael B. Jordan also has brought to Creed. So, and I'm sure Stallone is. He doesn't have a problem with Michael B. Jordan. He has a problem with the producer, who basically suckered him out of the rights of the ownership for Rocky.
What I have to say about Rocky Balboa is that I absolutely love is that he brought back also Spider Rico, the guy who he fought in the first movie, and that shows what kind of big heart Rocky has and what kind of a person is. He takes care of everybody, and he loves the life. So even like the quote he does, like the monologue he does with the keep moving forward, it's there you see what kind of big heart Rocky has. And like I said, it's a perfect ending. And the great stuff is when the people in the audience with the fight, they were a real audience because they're filming it. They were filming it before the actual fight. They had this movie, and all the people came just to see Sylvester Stallone, and the Rocky chants were genuine. So they were really the Rocky. They really were Rocky fans, and they chanted Rocky, and it was like a real audience, no extras, nothing, and they just came to see a fight. But before the fight, they saw the filming of Rocky, and they gave him the love, and that says everything. How the world loves this franchise. So, and it was a nice ending to the whole franchise, and I'm glad that we got Rocky Balboa. And I have to give credit to Rocky 5, because wouldn't we have this disaster of Rocky 5, we wouldn't get Rocky 6.
Absolutely.
So, okay, sorry, I talked enough. No.
No, I really enjoyed Balboa. One thing I like about this film, that I kind of went to it the same thing. I don't know if it was Matt that brought it up or not, or maybe it was Anthony, but people looked at this when this came out and said, well, what is he doing? This is the same thing. So I've heard recently that Schwarzenegger is going to do another Conan film. Now, I don't know how they're going to approach that or what, but obviously Conan isn't going to be the Conan that we know from 1982. But when they started doing this, I had reservations about, well, is he going to be able to fight a younger guy? Like, is it going to make sense? Like, is Rocky going to win at his age? And what I liked about it was they treated it like he was definitely an old fighter. They didn't treat it like he was still the same guy from 1985, So much like they did with Batman and the Justice League, they made Ben Affleck's Batman an older version that relied on technology instead of what he used to be before. That's like the Christian Bale stuff is a lot different. So the one thing I can appreciate about Bobo is that they treat it the way they should treat it. They treat it like it's not like crazy. He's not going to be like beating the hell out of a young fighter. It's like he had to go toe to toe, but he had to approach it differently, which is why his trainer had to tell him like, you're going to be able to take hits and you're going to have powerful hits. So I think even in this fight, Mason ends up breaking his hand by hitting Balboa. And that just shows you that he had to approach it entirely different than he ever had before in the other films. So that I can appreciate about this film. I mean, there's not a lot more I can say on it because you guys already covered a lot of it. But that I wanted to point out that I just appreciated how they approached the character this time around.
One thing I'll say about Stallone, though, in the making of this film, he looks good.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he does.
Like for his age, the work he put in to get physically fit to just come back for one more time. You've got nothing but respect for him. He was probably also getting physically fit to do Rambo again. But the thing is I like about Stallone, he's realistic in his thinking. So he knows his age, he knows his capabilities. So he knew when he went back to Rambo, not Last Blood, but the one before that was fucking phenomenal.
Yep.
Last Blood for me is like the Rocky 5 of the franchise.
Yes.
I do think they kind of ended it on a bad note. They should have just ended it with the one before that.
I was surprised they did that other Rambo. I was like, there's no reason for it. None.
Yeah. So, but this though, in his writing, Rocky, in Stallone's writing, how he wrote the character, how he wrote the story, it made complete sense. He wasn't there to win, he was there just to survive and to prove something. And at the same time, he kind of reconnected to his son. He kind of was grieving and was coming to terms with his grief over Adrian. It was just a beautifully wrought out story and a great book ending to the franchise. Jake Hall.
Definitely like this one a lot better than the other one. I thought the story did good. I thought they did justice for the Rocky character. I thought it was fun that they use a computer-generated fight to see who would win between the two. And then, as Rocky is still learning and trying to cope with the loss of his wife, his bickering with his son, and then trying to help Paulie out. But all in all, it was a good film, good ending to the film, and that's it.
Matt.
Excellent film. Again, step up from Rocky 5. It's funny that Anubis brings up Batman, that this movie kind of feels like the Dark Knight Returns kind of the franchise, where an old man version of the character comes back to regain his glory. It's not as dark and grisly as that story is, but it's kind of like the same themes. And this actually starts off, as I call the Stallone-assance of the 2000s, where he comes back and does Rocky, and then he does Rambo, and then he starts his new franchise, The Expendables, something he always had on mind, where he brought in all these old action stars. And I loved it. It was a great film, and it was great stuff. And as far as the home release of it, I purchased it because it said, "Ooh, we have an alternate ending." I'm like, alternate ending? What the hell is this? Where they actually shot an ending where Rocky wins in the end. I'm like, no, they shouldn't even entertain that idea. I thought the ending that they went with in the theatrical cut sufficed enough. Where the fight just ends and it's like he proved enough and he just leaves. Where in the theatrical, it's like in the the deleted ending. Oh, he wins. They're all just kind of kissing his ass, and then it just kind of stops. It's like, you didn't need to do that. But I like the kind of update they did for it, kind of like the HBO kind of a presentation for it, with like more modern day fighting as well. And also, I like the idea that they did. It's kind of like the Rocky Marciano, Muhammad Ali kind of thing. They kind of did that back in the 80s as well. Was it the 80s? But anyway, they kind of did that. So they were always trying to take something from real world boxing and put it in with the Rocky franchise as well. So awesome stuff. Great. I loved Rocky Balboa. What's up, Wolf?
Yo.
Oh.
So this has been a great exploration into the Rocky franchise. It's probably one of my all-time favorite franchises outside of, Kaiju, and there's a few other franchises I'm a huge fan of. But there's something magical about what Stallone was able to do way back in the 1970s up to right now with Creed. He's kind of, I don't know if he'll go back to the Creed movies or if that's him completely done, because he's now focusing on the young Rambo series, which one thing I'll give Stallone credit for, he knows when to stop. He made the fourth, he made, all the Rambo films. Yes, the last one wasn't great, but he's decided I ain't going back to do a rehash of that one. He finished the Rocky franchise on a high note, and he's went on to do the Expendables, and now he's continuing to do whatever he's doing. He's doing amazing things on television with Paramount. Mm-hmm. His television show is doing absolutely amazing. I haven't seen it yet. It's
so great.
Yeah, which he actually is.
Tulsa King is great.
Yeah, Tulsa King's supposed to be great. Apparently, writes it as well. So it just shows. I've always said he's an underrated writer. He's fantastic as a writer. I don't think we need to rate the films. I think we've pretty much all said what we need to say about the films, and we'll know which ones we love. So I'm just going to end this by quickly asking each and every one of my amazing guests what's coming up on your channels. So, Anthony Jordan, what's coming up on Anthony Jordan's Movies and Gaming?
Well, I don't have a set timeline for anything, but I'm planning to start ramping up content again, so just keep an eye out.
Nice. Jedi Granville.
Well, for right now, tomorrow, you and I, and hopefully the Professor, Mr. Daniel Miller, will be coming together and discussing the 70th anniversary of a sci-fi classic, Forbidden Planet, and have a discussion on that. And Sunday, believe it or not, I got in touch with somebody called GFan84, and we're just going to have a slight discussion, not just about Godzilla, but just a random talk about different things. I was just like, and he asked me personally, I was like, wow, really? I mean, you want me to come on in? I mean, it's like, I do talk, but you chose an old geezer to come talk about these things. But I'm like, okay, hey, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to talk about random things. So yeah. So that's
spread your wisdom.
Well, I don't know about the wisdom.
Like Nenad, I know you don't have a channel, but you never know. Hopefully one day you'll be back on this channel soon. You never know. Yeah,
no problem. If you need a guy who can talk and talks too much, just let me know, because I'm passionate about movies, and sometimes I have to talk.
I'll book you in 2027. No
You're the film historian.
Yes.
Yeah, you should just
in all seriousness, Nenad, I've been wanting to get you on the channel for a while, so I finally got you. It was like getting blood out of a stone, because he works that much. He's a workaholic.
He is. He really is.
Yeah, but Kevin, don't forget, we still have a Star Wars franchise stream you wanted to do with me.
Yes, I
So-
was trying
so-
to get that down, but every time I asked, he's just been working.
we will make it, and then we can do it.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's 10.5 hours, no problem.
Yeah, there is so much to talk about. So no, we can do a Star Wars marathon.
Maybe I'm dreading talking about the sequel trilogy. Anyway, Mr. DJ Anubis, what is coming up on the Metal Tavern Radio?
So I only got one thing for tomorrow, but before I do want to just give my rankings of these films. So from 6 will be Rocky 5, number 5 will be Rocky, 4 is Rocky 2, 3 is Balboa, 2 is Rocky 3, and number 1 is Rocky 4 is my favorite of all time. So as far as tomorrow, Neko and I are going to be doing our top metal albums of March, and so we'll have that video up. Plus, I have an unboxing and some merch to show, so I got some of that to be added into the video for tomorrow. So be looking for that.
Nice.
I look up.
Right. Jake Hall, it's been a pleasure as always having you on the channel, and we will be in the future doing a birthday stream, which on Kaiju Connections, my segment, and we're going to be doing a review of Rodan. So that is what will be coming up with me and him. And we've got some other Kaiju stuff. We've got Howl Beyond the Frog coming up as well. Matt Gojira 851, is there anything coming up on your channel?
My channel, not really. For you though, we're gonna do a Devil May Cry educating video in May. Season 2 is going to be. So I wonder if Anubis wants to get down and talk about like we did season 1.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. All right, cool.
So we're doing education on Devil May Cry, which I know nothing about. So he's going to educate me on that. If you want to join us for that one, Anubis.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
All right, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Matt and I had a great discussion on that when we talked about it.
All right.
Oh, cool. So we'll have Anthony Jordan is putting in the chat his rankings. 6. Nice.
That's pretty cool.
So, do you want to do your ratings or rankings for the movies?
I'm good.
I was gonna say,
I can tell mine. 2, 1, 3. 2, 1, 6, 3, 4, and about 5. I'm not talking.
fair enough.
What about you, Jedi? Do you have at least a favorite?
Well, as I said before, Rocky 3 will always be my favorite of the Rocky movies because it is that's just how I feel about it, you know. And like I said, I'm not saying that Rocky 4 isn't good. I just feel Rocky 3 is more of the balance of what 4 is and the previous 2, and it meshed together very well. So yeah.
I'm trying to think. If I were going to rank them, last would be 5. Then it would probably be the first one would be the next one, then 2, then 4, and then 3. Because there's just something about the third one I just absolutely love. I think I just love Mr. T as Clubber Lang. I think he's fantastic.
Well, maybe because he's the original sexual chocolate, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. What's the prediction of the fight? Pain.
Yes. So that's my rankings, and if you guys don't want to give yours, that is fine. But I've had a fantastic time doing this with you guys. As mentioned, next week, tomorrow I'm on Jedi Granville Productions. Then next week we'll have the next, I think, is it Into the Darkness I'm doing next week?
It was, yeah.
I think I'm doing Into the Darkness next week, and it's going to be a double bill of films. It's going to be the Sinister series, and I'm doing the Sopranos special with Mr. Anthony Jordan and my busy friend Jill Bada Bing Nielsen. That's going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
Really looking forward to that one.
Yes, and then on the 10th is Kaiju Connections, Howl Beyond the Fog. And I think actually before that, on the 4th, me and JJ Anubis are getting together to talk about Double Impact from 1991 with Jean-Claude Van Damme. So that's just a bit what's coming to the entertainment headquarters in the next couple of weeks. But gentlemen, yous have all been a blast. Rocky, like I say, is definitely one of my all-time favorite franchises, and like I say, couldn't do this without any of you guys. You're all fantastic, and thank you, Nenad, for finally making your appearance on the entertainment headquarters.
Love you guys.
Yeah, it was great seeing you, man.
Yeah,
So
great
much-
having you.
Appreciate it.
Yes. So as always, I'll end it with what I always say: keep on enjoying your movies, keep on enjoying all things entertainment, and we'll catch us all at the next one.